are so blessed to have Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson back with us. Yes, you. You're looking a little bit more conservative in your dress. Is that because of your...
It's because of him. It's Steph. It's Steph's fault.
What did you do, Steph?
He told me to dress up, so I'm dressing up.
I thought maybe it was because of the new church you're heading up there. There are two things I want to know. Oh, there are lots of things I want to know, with only two here. Would you kindly spend a minute or two about your new church? Whenever.
Okay.
You want to share that, whether you want to or not. If you will.
Okay.
And two, are we still going to see you here?
Okay. That's an easy one to answer. Okay. I got you.
Welcome.
Okay, so second, I'll start with the Q&A. Second question, answer is yes, you will still sue me, of course. That was sort of put into the contract to make sure that I had time, so I told them, listen, I've got family and I need to have time to be able to go visit with family, so you need to put it in the documents. So yeah, that's fine. A little bit about this, the new center is, there were actually 4 spiritual centers in the Baltimore area that synchronistically all ended up with no minister all at the same time. One didn't have one for almost 2 years. One moved to California somewhere, so she was leaving. One retired, the other one left. So at this one period of time, all 4 of them were ministerless. My name kept coming up, so they made an offer, and then we went into discussions, and the 4 of them came together as one center, and then one dropped out. So 3 centers came together as one, so now it's the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore. And I'll be the senior minister there for... So, at this present moment, it is in, and it's like sort of on the border of Lutherville and Lithicum. It's like right on the Timonium. Sorry, I keep seeing the sign. Yeah, it's like right on the border. It's on 1313 York Road at this present moment. So, if you're ever in the area, when I'm there, feel free to stop by. So we ready?
Yes.
So since you're already warmed up, I'm not going to do my traditional beginning. So I'm going to just jump right in. You ready?
Yes.
What are we here for? Just think about that for a second, because so I've finally got off the procrastination hobby horse to go ahead and finish editing my 3rd book, and so going through the editing process, which means I have to reread my book. So I'm rereading it, noticing things like, yeah, that's not going to work. That's not where I am now. While starting the research for book number 4, right? So I'm doing a lot of reading of the Old Testament and stuff, right? So a couple of questions keep popping up for me, though, as I'm doing this research, and I asked a couple of people some questions as part of my research thing. So I'm going to ask you at least 2 of these questions. You can answer it if you want to. I would like you to. I'm not going to put you out if you don't, but I would like you to answer. Raise your hand. Okay. So raise your hand if you know any people who are spiritual people, what you would call spiritual people. Okay, put them down. Raise your hand if you know some people who are more spiritual than others. Put your hand down. You don't have to raise your hand on this one, but think for yourself. Do you consider yourself one of those such spiritual people? Just think that for yourself. I'm not even going to look. What happens in UBB stays in UBB. So what if, because this is one of the things that I noticed in my research is, this is sort of a hard pill to swallow, every single one of us is spiritual. Period. Now, what we classify as those who are more spiritual or less spiritual, what we're really talking about is awareness But if God is all there is, and God is this infinite spirit, and it is all there is, then it has to be what we are. Which means, if I say that I am more spiritual than Tracy, that's hypocrisy. Now, I know I made you raise your hands, and that was just me messing with you. But the idea is, because we have this idea in our mind, that some of us, some people, Deepak Chopra, very spiritual. Some other people, not so much. Oprah Winfrey, I'm not really sure, but I think she is, but I'm not, sometimes, but she's not really a spiritual person. She's a spiritual person, but she's not a spiritual teacher. I don't know. We get into this stuff. And part of the reason we get into this stuff is because we're having a difficult time acknowledging and sinking in to our own spirituality. Because it is a very difficult and very hard pill to swallow that you are the I am. So then I come to this whole question of, then what are we here for? You know, week after week, day after day, we meditate and we pray. And we do the spiritual stuff. For? I mean, like, what's it all for? Like, if I go to college, you go to college, the ultimate goal of college is to graduate and get a degree. But not even that, because I want the degree so that I can then go and get a job. And that's not even the end goal, because I get the job, but I want to make money. Well, what are you making money for? Because you want to spend the money. Okay, so I'm not okay, then what do you, because at some point I will do this for 50 or 60 years and I will retire and enjoy my life. Why aren't you doing that now? Right. Yeah. So what's the point? You know, we eat. And we have a reason for eating. And part of our reason for eating is we have to stay alive. We are eating to be nourished. But what if you didn't have to eat? You know, like Superman. Sorry, you know it. How many people here, this is the first time you're seeing me? So, yeah, I've referenced comic books and stuff quite a bit. So, Superman being from the planet of Krypton does not need to eat. He doesn't need to drink, doesn't need to eat. But he does it anyway. Why? For the pleasure of? To be able to sit in company with folks and say, you know, as Clark Kent, well, I'm not really hungry right now, but I'm going to dine with you anyway, you know, just this fellowship. Is that why? For the sake of pretending to be human? Or is there something more? Like, we eat this spiritual food. We dine on this spiritual food. Why? If we already know that that which the Christ is already who and what we are, then what's the point? Just sit with that for a second. Because if we are doing all of this with the idea that there is something at the end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and I am searching for the pot of gold. Frosted Lucky Charms? Sorry. Is that the goal, though? Are we seeking to become something that we already are? How do you find what you already are? How many of us have ever lost our keys and looked everywhere for them, and then come back to somewhere where we looked 4 times, and they're sitting right there? We've done it many, many, many times. And there's a Chinese philosopher, if I'm not mistaken, his name is Hu Ning, says, when you seek it, you cannot find it. And it's because we are seeking from a consciousness that says, I don't have. And if your consciousness says, I don't have, then it's looking for something from an I don't have, which means it's I don't want to see. Rather than I am open to see that which I am. I am open from a state of, because see, what we do with the keys is, now I know I just had them. What? And then we get frustrated and we're angry with ourselves, and all that's doing is lumping on more and more and more resistance, and the resistance makes the keys invisible. The keys are basically sitting there like, you'll figure it out sooner or later. Hey, shoes, what are y'all doing? And then eventually, we get to a place where we let it go. We're like, forget it, I'm gonna just go get some coffee. I know my... The moment we let it go, it shows up. So the moment we go into meditation and let it go, no longer meditate with the purpose of, I'm trying to get enlightenment. Om Shanti Shanti. Oh, when's it gonna happen? Steph said 3 minutes every day, and I do 10, and it's not working, Steph. Right? There's this story that I was learning when I was studying Kung Fu way back when, and my teacher told me this story, which actually I think it shows up in a book called The Zen of Martial Arts by Joe Hyams, I think. Anyhow, this gentleman goes to a very prominent karate master, right? And he goes to the karate master and says, Sensei, teach me the skill of karate. And the master says, why do you want to learn? I want to have a black belt. How long will it take me to get a black belt? For black belt, 5 years. Well, what if I train twice as hard? 10. What if I train every day? I only eat 1 meal a week. And what then? 40. Excuse me, sir, can you explain to me why every time I tell you I'm going to work harder, the number goes up? Because we are trying to attain something that doesn't exist. And the more effort we put into this trying to be what we already are, trying to get what we already have, the more effort we put into this, the further away it's going to be in our consciousness. It's not really any further, but because we have this idea that it takes time to get. But see, we spiritual folks know there's no such thing as time. Time exists in this world of effects as a human so that we can get from point A to point B. So that I know what time I need to walk in here, because if I'm late, somebody, I'm not going to say any names, ain't going to let me live it down. Right? So I know that I have to follow that thing in the back that's got a face and it's got arms. I have to follow it. When my doctor says be here at 9, because I'm not trying to pay, I don't have to pay, I'm going to be there at 8 o'clock. So when we are human, yes, we have rules that we abide by. It's the same as playing checkers. It's the same as playing tennis. It's the same as baseball. There are rules in the game that we are playing. But we know that those rules only apply to that game. I don't go on the tennis court. At least I hope I don't, because it's different rules. I don't try to tackle Serena, throw a knee in my throat, but I don't try to, because they're different rules. So in this world of effect, we have rules that we use time. But there is this part of us that understands there is no time. There is timelessness. And it's not even timelessness, because for there to be timelessness, there needs to be less time. And in spirit, there is no time. That which is eternal doesn't even have time as a reference point. It just is. So when we try to take these rules of the human world of effects and try to superimpose it on what it means to be divine and holy and sacred and healthy and well and joyous and prosperous, we're trying to take the rules of the wrong game and play what's up, Doc? Like it doesn't work. So if we want to feel this thing that this spiritual practice is attempting to get us to the ultimate goal, thus far where I am in my 52 years, what I've discovered is the ultimate goal of this whole thing that we're doing as spiritual stuff is to simply be. Simply be. Be love. Be joy. Be magic. Be whatever that is, but simply be. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that you are that which is. That's it. And we can do that in a whole bunch of ways. Some of us do it via theater and film. Some of us do it via music. Some of us do it through the Richard Simmons version of spiritual aerobics. We do it in a whole vast amount of variety, myriad of ways. Because that's how God shows up. I've said it before. How many different breeds of, or species of, I'm not sure the right term, breeds or species of tree exist on the face of this planet? Just what's in the Amazonian jungle by itself is more than if we did one for each finger, every person in here, we still wouldn't have enough. Because that's how many genus of, types of, species of, just in that one area. What about roses? Colors of, styles of, kinds of, whatever they're called. Myriad of numbers. Cake. Love cake. Cake. How many flavors of cake? God is showing itself in, through, and as the multitudes. So however we step into that river of the multitude of how it is showing up in, through, and as me, as an artist, as a chef, as a mother, as a father, as a child, as a musician, as a minister, as a teacher, as a whatever. Simply be. Knowing that there is nothing we could ever do that makes us less spiritual. We can do things that make us less aware, but nothing can make us less spiritual, less divine, less holy, less God. Nothing. How many of you have ever watched television or a movie, gone to the movies? This is one of my pet peeves. You go to the movies with friends, and you're sitting there watching a movie, and you're the only one wide awake, and three of them dozing off. Ugh! I won't say any names. Just saying. Just saying. There've been a couple of episodes of Luke Cage and stuff that I look over, and it's like, what are you? I'm awake. What just happened? I don't know. But how many of us have ever sat down and watched television with friends or family and look over and notice that they're dozing off, or they're half in? That's what we do in life. Some of us are walking around and we are fully awake, and then some of us are walking around slightly. We're a little sleepy. Life, things that happen can make us doze off or want to go. I used to be addicted to, for those who don't know me, I used to be addicted to depression. And this one thing in the realm of depression that I used to love so much, sleep. I used to love to sleep. I used to love to get in the bed, stay in the bed, and then get out of the bed and get something to drink, but get right back in the bed, and the bed's still warm. What kind of magical witchcraft is that? Like, you were waiting for me, and then just stay in there for hours, till hours become days. And then days become weeks. And then weeks become months, and you realize, oh, it's time to get up. So you have to make a change. But life happens. Trauma and drama happen, and it's easy to want to recede into the background and avoid it. You know how easy it is for me to find out that my mother's just been diagnosed with dementia, and that things are going on with my family, and that I may have to have surgery because of when I was raped, and all of this stuff. You know how easy it is for me to want to recede into the background and just ignore it all and not face it? I'm not in Pittsburgh. My brothers are in Pittsburgh. 2 brothers are in Pittsburgh. Let them handle it. My mother's got over 50 grandkids, great-grandkids in Pittsburgh. Let them handle it. She was one of the key abusers that abused me. Why should I be the one to let them handle it? Easy to recede into the background. But this teaching is not about recede and run and hide. This teaching is about standing in our power and in our light no matter what is going on around us. No matter what is going on around us. If we simply be still. So Ray, just to let you know, your mom was diagnosed with dementia and she's rapidly declining. Be still. Well, you know this is going on with the family and lack of support. Be still. Well, you know you may need surgery because of this. Be still. Simply be still. Because when I try to do spirituality, it fails. You don't do meditation. We say it, but you don't do it. You surrender into it and let it be done unto us. Let go. We don't breathe. We surrender, and we can try. We've gone to meditation things where it's like inhale for 5 or a count of 10 and hold for 7 and exhale for whatever number it is. And we work to stretch our lungs to be able to hold the diaphragm and get the breath to do what we wanted to do. We do, but ultimately at some point, you have to, at some point you have to let it go. You have to let it go. And then surrender to the next inflow of breath. The next inflow of spirit reminding us that it is all that we are. Simply being still. That's what this is about. And the moment we get to that place, then the real challenge begins. You thought sitting down in meditation for 7 hours a week, not a day. You thought giving up time to do that. You thought coming to a class with Phil or with Linda, you thought that was a sacrifice. You thought coming to Ray's class is no, that's easy stuff compared to what comes next. You thought coming here every Sunday, meditation and prayer and reading and classes, and it's easy. The real work is when you get still and you know that you are the light of the world, you are the light of God, you are love given a body, you are flesh and spirit coexisting in one incarnate divine temple. Now, how do you show up? How do you show up in the world out there? Because here, it's great to shine that light. We're all shining it to some degree. But when we go out there, or we flick on the news, or read a paper, for those who still do actual paper rather than digital, when we get into that, and the world then comes up with, ooh, the darkness. And the darkness wants to come in and try to suppress. But the darkness doesn't have the ability to suppress. I'm sure we've all heard it at one point or another, that you go into a room, there is a switch to turn the light up or turn the light down. There is no switch to turn darkness up or darkness down. There is no darkness switch. You don't flick, dark. Doesn't exist. But there is one for light. We can turn the light up or turn it down, based upon our awareness. So when we go out there and we are faced with doctors who say things about our body or the body of those we love, when we go out there and we hear about politicians or things in the government or in the world of effects, yes, when we go to places and family do not respect us or care about us or demonstrate love for us, yes, turn the light up. There's a movie with Will Smith, raise your hand if you saw it, called I Am Legend. So there's a scene in the movie, you may remember, where he's rescued by this woman and this young child, and they're talking, and Will tells a story about Bob Marley, which Tracy and I recently went to Jamaica for me to speak and teach a workshop down there. So we went to the Bob Marley Museum, which is a very powerful thing, because I have this in my mind, that The day after Bob Marley was shot, for those who may not know, there was an assassination attempt on Bob Marley's life, and he got shot. And the day after he got shot, he still went through and did a concert. And interviewers asked him, like, why are you just got shot yesterday, man, why are you here? And to paraphrase, his idea was, the people out there who are bringing darkness to the world are not taking a day off. Why should I? And his thing was, as Will Smith puts it in the movie, because in the movie Will Smith is a virologist, and he says Bob Marley was a spiritual virologist using music, infecting the world with love through his music. So the idea is, we are going to see great things happening in the world when we become the ones we've been waiting for. When we step into the role, we're already that. We are already the Christ. You can't be more of the Christ. You are already love made flesh. You can't be more love. You are already magnificent in all ways. I don't care what flaws you may think you have. That doesn't change how beautiful, how divine, how spectacular any of us are. We all have things. Every single one of us has a story. Right now, we get the invitation to take the pen from the paper, turn the page, and start a new story. Because a story is going to be told for as long as we exist. And even when we give up these flesh and blood suits, that which we are as spirit doesn't end. So in some way, shape, or form, the story continues. So why continue to tell the story of a life that we do not desire? Telling a story of how unspiritual we are, how flawed we are, how much of a sinner we are. Simply be still, knowing right here, right now. As Eric Butterworth said, don't go through life, grow through life. This is our moment right now to change. Am I going through or growing through? Am I using this opportunity of what the doctor told me about what happened to me? Am I going to use the opportunity of what the doctor told me about what my mother may be experiencing? Am I going to use the opportunity of what the lawyer said and what the Pennsylvania Department of Housing and Aging said regarding my mother and her care? And am I going to use all of that and simply go through the motions, or am I going to grow through? Am I going to allow myself to step into the consciousness that knows I, as the Christ, can do all things? Not simply I can do all things through that which God is, through that which the Christ is, through that which Spirit is, which empowers me and gives me. I, as the Christ. I, as the light. I, as love. Stand in the midst of all that is going on and know that I have dominion and power. That anything that comes to me, I can grow through it. And that anything that comes to me, I have the ability to turn these tiny little crumbs of fish and loaves into the multitudes that feed the consciousness that doesn't know how to be fed. That I am able to, when a consciousness that cannot see the truth comes to me, I am able to restore sight to that part of my consciousness that is blind to the truth. That part of my consciousness that cannot or will not hear the truth, I restore the ability for it to hear. That part of my consciousness that has been abused, that still may see itself as a victim, that has died in that consciousness, I am able to restore life back unto it. And bring it back in the way that Jesus brought Lazarus back. And what I can do, we all can do. Because each and every one of us is the Christ made flesh. That's what this is for. Namaste.